You sit for 2 hours as mines and shells fall just 5 meters away. That's when I got a concussion. Hi, my name is Gleb. The war began on February 24th. I turned 18 the next day and volunteered. Before the war, I lived in Belarus as an ordinary teenager with my parents. After the protest in 2020, I emigrated to Poland. Here I received international protection status and started building my life here, learned the language, and went to study at a lyceum. On February 16, I wrote a post on Facebook saying that if a war started, I would go to help Ukrainians. On the 24th, my brother woke me up shouting that Kiev was being bombed. I turned 18 on February 25. The day after the war started, on February 24, I saw that Belarus was getting ready to go and help the Ukrainians, and that I wasn't the only one. I immediately applied to join the tactical group Belarus. On the 26th, they contacted me, interviewed me, and I was on my way. March 8th, why did you go there? To continue, because I felt that I had to be there. I'm Belarusian up to the 5th generation, but I have someone who replaced my father, and he connected his life with Ukraine. I absorbed this culture from him. This decision was very hard for my loved ones. My aunt was very worried, very anxious, and my brother was anxious too. They even came up with this idea that on the eve of my departure, they would call the police and say that I was some kind of troublemaker so that I would be detained and wouldn't go there.
Did you understand that it was a war? Did you have any strange feelings? Or did you want to do something there, to tell someone something?
Well, yes, I said something to my beloved there before I left, but it was nothing special. Very important words, but I didn't think I would come back, though I hoped for it. We arrived in Kiev, and while we were driving to our location, there were shellings the whole time. When we got there, it was very cold and we slept on the floor. Well, a person is such a being, he gets used to everything. I don't know, I never had it like that. I didn't suffer or have trouble getting used to something. You get used to tasteless food, you get used to the floor, I don't know, you get used to the shelling. You wake up, attend roll call, listen to the regiment commander, shout, "Long live Belarus, glory to Ukraine," and boost your spirits. My first assignment was a trip to Bucha. It still wasn't clear, as far as I knew, whether there were Russians there or not. Well, there were Russians there. We saw them through the thermal imager. I'm riding in a pickup and I see dead civilians. The chaos and destruction left by the Russians. What I remember most, and I always tell this, is that there's a man lying there, and far away there's a bus stop, and there are children running around happy, waving at us, jumping, cheerful and joyful. And just 20 meters away there's a corpse lying there. I don't know. If I had seen that at their age, I probably would have gone crazy. It's really hard, there are so many bodies. We were basically the first to see this devastation and chaos. I was fully convinced I was exactly where I belonged, somehow even more so. I felt very relieved, very calm inside. When the Russians had already left the Kiev region, Chernihiv region, and Zhytomyr, we went to the southern part of the front, and I spent 3 months there. Odessa, Kherson, Mykolaiv, the city of Mykolaiv, and that's the area where you stay. And the daily shelling, it was very massive, and every time after the shelling, you go out into the city in the morning, you drive through this city, and you see some changes. And over there, that house is gone, over there the kindergarten is gone, and over there all the cars are completely overturned. It was terrifying to realize that a missile just fell, there are casualties, and you understand that one missile took several lives. I'm the editor of Grazdanskik, mainly the editor.
All this time, while you were in Ukraine, what was the hardest day for you?
Can you tell us about it? We arrived at the position. We had no food or water. I crawled about 800 meters to try to find some food and water at the neighboring positions. I got there, but there was no one at those positions, and it was already night. And there was no food or water there either. I chose to remain with the Ukrainian soldiers even though a Russian drone was flying overhead, easily monitoring everything. They would have opened fire on me as the battle began and the Russians launched an offensive on that front. I sat alone in the trench. I realized that if the Russians broke through and reached here, I'd be captured since I was alone. I'm about to say something cliché. A soldier always has 2 grenades, but even if I wanted to, I couldn't just use one on myself. I could hear the battle going on, a very long battle. I even tried to crawl out somewhere to look around to see where it was coming from. Mostly it's my first love, then my brother and my family, it's all together. You sit there in your head lying down thinking, damn, I wish I could hug them all right now, that's how it is. But no, now there's a war, you can't. I didn't have a whole night, well, more than a night, a little bit, around 11 o'clock.
You had to kill.
I don't know, no, probably not, I don't know. I can't talk about it just like that, because you can't be sure if you killed someone. Or it's obvious, like, I didn't shoot in front of a person, I didn't shoot at him. Well, in that case, yes, I killed people. But when there are people somewhere over there, and you shoot in that direction, and you don't know if you hit anyone, and you understand that it's the enemy, here, it's you or them. Seeing those corpses was unpleasant. Yes, a lot. It was specifically the death of loved ones that became terrifying. There was just so much of it. So many people were dying one after another. And as I was getting over one, I would find out that 3 more had died. And that really shook me up a bit. All of this happened at the end of May, beginning of June. We rotated our guys at the positions and immediately came under fire for 2 hours. 3 mortar crews attacked us from different directions, forcing us to stay down the whole time. I don't know how we didn't lose anyone back then, but it was tough. For 2 hours, you sit and listen to mines and shells falling just 5 meters away. A shell landed about 10 meters away from me, and a mine fell behind me. And then 2 of the next guys got hit. One was wounded in the stomach, he started bleeding, and at that moment I fell and lost consciousness. So, well, I saw a white light, and I already thought that was it, that it was the end. Hearing someone behind me shout, "Wounded, wounded," I thought they meant me, and checked myself. He was my comrade, he lost 2 fingers. He runs up to me like this, all like I'm rock and roll, or something like that. I put tourniquets on him, and that's it, they evacuate them, and we move on and take those positions. And that's when I got a concussion, and 2 of my brothers in arms also got concussed. I didn't know I had a concussion. I didn't realize it. I just felt like my mind was a bit foggy. I thought it was stress. Maybe I fell asleep, but the whole time I could hear my own voice in my head. It was telling me what I needed to do, how I should go on living. So I jump up and grab my rifle, run out of the trench and take the safety off, but my commander pulls me back just in time and asks me what happened. I say, I hear Russians, Russians are coming, Russians are close, Russians are approaching, and this voice in my head told me that the Russians are near. They took me to the hospital, after which they sent me to a psychotherapist, and he said that this is very dangerous, that this is a concussion and it can have some consequences. Because he had a case like this when another Ukrainian, back during the anti-terrorist operation, also got a concussion. He had voices in his head too, and then he went on a mission. And a voice in his head told him that there were Russians all around, but he was actually with his own people, he was walking with his own, and he started shooting at his own. That scared me a little, but I understood that maybe I just needed to rest. I don't know, I'm tired, I'm emotionally exhausted, and I refused hospitalization, but I also really want to go back as soon as possible. And I started having panic attacks, so for 2 weeks I was having panic attacks every day. After my night shift, I lie down, start to fall asleep, and hear voices in my head again, which really scares me. And my heart starts beating really fast, it starts pounding so hard that I think I'm about to die. My body shakes uncontrollably and I sit there confused, not knowing what's happening. In the morning, it felt like a terrible dream, but the panic attacks kept happening every day. It was already really hard for me, so I went to the headquarters and said, this is how it is, and I want to get treatment. They told me, well, if you want to get treatment, bro, then only if you quit, because, it takes a long time. I quit and went through a rehabilitation course. After I was discharged from the clinic, they told me that, unfortunately, I definitely wouldn't be able to fight anytime soon. After rehab, I bought a ticket and went to the front. I didn't tell anyone that I was coming back. I arrived at the house where I live and wrote to my brother. Maybe we could call in half an hour or so, I really need to talk to you, all that stuff. I asked him to step onto the balcony and he did. We're on the 2nd floor. And he doesn't see that I'm with her, I'm just talking to him on the phone and he hears 2 voices, one on the phone, one from outside. I spoke loudly on purpose. He looked out the window and I was afraid he'd jump out of happiness. He wanted to come to me, to hug me and all that, so I kept saying, please, please, just quietly, don't jump. Well, it was very emotional and a lot of fun. Yeah, very often during the first 3 months, almost every time I slept, it was about the war. Either I was dying, or flying a drone, or doing some kind of reconnaissance. Really strange dreams. There are a lot of little things like that, but honestly, the war gave me things that still shape who I am today. When someone sets off fireworks, it gets really scary. It feels like something is shooting at you.
Listen. And it often happens that people who came back from the war can't find themselves anywhere except in the war.
Yes, I've seen that. My plan was that no matter what happens or how bad things get, the war will save me by giving me emotions. At war I lived with it, and all I had in my mind was the war. I couldn't let go of that war.
What are your plans for the future?
I've lost all my interests and I'm struggling to regain them, but it's very hard for me. First of all, I need to take care of myself. If I take good care of myself, then I'll be able to take care of others, of people, in the future. So right now, I'm my own priority. Yes, for now, obviously, I'm not ready to go back yet.